Eva Harlan wasn't born to fight, but the land she grew up on didn't care. Nestled in the foothills of Colorado, the Harlan Ranch was a sprawl of wind-swept fields, old fences, and a sense of isolation that bred either fear or resilience. Eva chose resilience. She was a wiry kid with silent eyes, the kind that watched more than she spoke. Her mother died when she was 5, pneumonia after a hard winter, and her father hadn't spoken much since. So it was Grandpa Walt who raised her. Walt Harlan was a war relic, a Korean vet with a limp, a loaded shotgun always within reach, and a voice that sounded like gravel sliding over barbed wire. He didn't believe in softness. He believed in preparation. A storm don't care if you're ready. It just comes, he told her once while showing her how to clean a rifle. She was 9. The first time she held a .22, it felt like holding a secret. The kick surprised her. She didn't flinch. By the time she was 13, Eva could outshoot most of the men who visited the ranch for deer season. Word got around, but it stayed local. Just another small-town legend. The girl with a dead-eye aim and no smile. She didn't want trophies. She wanted stillness. In the woods, she found it. In the moment between breath and bullet, everything made sense. But the world outside didn't work that way. High school was a blur of detachment. She didn't fit with the girls who wore eyeliner and talked about prom, and the boys didn't know what to do with her. Some mocked her. Some tried to impress her. None understood her. She wasn't hostile, just uninterested. She cared more about wind direction than pep rallies, more about the sound of a buck moving through pine and gossip whispered in locker rooms. Her counselor once asked her, "Eva, what do you want to be?" She shrugged. Useful. That same year, the towers fell in New York. Eva didn't understand the scope at first, only that everything changed. The news was constant. Her father wept quietly in the kitchen, the first tears she'd ever seen. Him shed. Walt spat on the ground and loaded his rifle, as if the terrorists might ride into Colorado on horseback. At 17, Eva told her grandfather she wanted to join the army. He didn't react for a moment. "You want to kill?" "No," she said. "I want to be where I matter." Walt poured a cup of coffee. "They won't know what to do with you? Let them figure it out," she said. She left the ranch 2 weeks after graduation. At the Denver recruitment office, she was handed forms by a sergeant who barely looked at her. "Medical? Admin?" he asked, scanning her lean frame and quiet voice. "Infantry," he chuckled. "We'll see." In boot camp, Eva was just another number. She didn't complain, didn't chat. She learned the rules, followed them to the letter, and outshot everyone on the range. Drill sergeants started calling her Bullseye. A few joked about it. One didn't. "Where'd you learn to shoot like that?" "Grandpa?" "He a sniper?" "No. A rancher." She wasn't trying to impress anyone, but she did anyway. Even so, excellence didn't equal respect. Some of the guys saw her as a challenge. Others saw her as a fluke. She ignored them all. She cared more about precision than approval. One night, a private tossed a beer can in the air and challenged her to shoot it with an air rifle. She declined. He laughed. The next morning, during range training, she outscored the units designated marksman by 3 points. That same private wouldn't meet her eyes for a week. She didn't take pride in that. She just moved on. When orders came for deployment, she didn't react. Others cried or called home. Eva packed quietly and looked at the desert. Maps. Baghdad. Fallujah. Ramadi. Names that echoed through the news like ghost towns of fire and blood. Her assignment came through. Camp Falcon, south of Baghdad. Security detail. Nothing glamorous. Nothing elite. She didn't care. She just wanted to be useful. At Camp Falcon, the dust was different. It got into everything: boots, rifles, lungs. The days blurred into heat and repetition. Her unit called her Cammy, short for camouflage, because she barely spoke and always seemed to blend in. She let them call her whatever they wanted. She stood watch. She cleaned her gear. She memorized patrol routes and radio codes. She watched the sniper team, two hardened soldiers with tattoos, dark humor, and 1,000-yard stares, and learned without asking. They didn't notice her, not yet, but she noticed them. She watched how they calibrated their scopes, how they moved in sync, one calling wind, the other breathing through the shot. She listened to how the spotter spoke in fragments, like math problems and instinct were the same thing. She understood more than she let on. She just didn't say anything. One night, she wrote in her notebook, "They see through lenses. I see through silence." Then she folded it shut. She had no idea her silence would soon break, not with a scream or a speech, but with a trigger pull that would rewrite how they saw her forever. Asterisk. Baghdad heat wasn't just hot, it was personal. It wrapped around your bones, snuck into your boots, and squeezed every drop of energy out of you before noon. Camp Falcon sat on the southern edge of the city, an ever-humming patchwork of sandbags, metal, sweat, and unfinished business. The enemy didn't wear uniforms, and the silence between explosions stretched too long to feel safe. Eva arrived in the middle of a sandstorm. Her boots hit the dust like they belonged, but no one noticed. To the men unloading beside her, she was just another body in uniform, a background character, worse than a rookie, a question mark. A woman in a world that still struggled with the idea that she might be more than paperwork or PR. They called her Cammy on day 2. The name wasn't cruel, just lazy. Short for camouflage. Because she was quiet, blended in, never spoke. Unless asked, it stuck. So did their assumptions. Cammy, grab those crates. Cammy, we need coffee. Cammy, stay out of the way. She did as told. She didn't protest. She carried her weight, more than her weight, actually, and observed everything. The sniper team intrigued her from the start. 2 men, older than the others. Corporal Jace Lennox, lean, sarcastic, all edge, and his partner specialist. Luke Pine Danvers, named for his towering height and perpetual scent of menthol. They didn't laugh much. They didn't talk much either, at least not to others. But with each other, they spoke in short, quiet bursts, numbers, wind. Calls, phrases like hold over, green on white, and ghost shift. Eva listened from a distance. She memorized their movements, their breathing cadence, the way Jace's hands moved like a metronome across the rifle stock. She didn't need to be close to understand them. She had grown up reading people through long silences, but they didn't see her, not really. To most of the unit, Ava was reliable but unremarkable. She followed protocol, met her marks, and never complained. Her marksmanship scores during qualification had been excellent, better than most in the company, but that hadn't turned heads. A few shrugged it off as ranch luck. Others whispered about favoritism. One even joked that maybe the targets had been scared of her. She kept breathing. Let the wind take the noise. Most days, her role was basic perimeter duty, roaming the wire, watching the road, checking IDs. Long stretches of stillness punctuated by the occasional heartbeat of tension. A car driving too slow, a local staring too long. It wasn't glamorous work, but it was necessary. The camp was attacked at least once a week, mortar mostly. Sometimes worse. And when the siren screamed, no one cared about your gender or your silence. They only cared that you didn't run. Eva never ran. One late afternoon, after another 12-hour shift under a copper sky, she found herself resting. near the sniper platform. The team was cleaning their gear, wiping dust from scopes and brushing sand from the rifle's grooves. Jace glanced up, noticed her watching. "You ever shot anything bigger than a varmint gun?" he asked, half amused. She didn't answer immediately, just looked at the M110 in his lap. "I've shot elk through fog. 600 yards, heart shot." Pine raised an eyebrow. "What, off a YouTube video?" Eva smiled faintly. "Off my porch," they laughed. Not cruel, but dismissive. "Cammy, that's cute," Jace said. "Tell you what, want to hold it?" She hesitated, then stepped forward. He handed her the rifle like he was handing over a heavy fishing rod. She took it with both hands, dropped to one knee without asking, and adjusted the bipod. The rifle settled into her shoulder like it belonged. Her cheek rested against the stock, one eye closed. They stopped laughing. She turned the scope, adjusted. "Windage with practiced fingers. Pickup truck by the tower," she said. 785 meters. Pine, still smirking, raised the rangefinder and clicked. Jace's headset dropped from his ear. 7-8-5. Pine muttered. Eva said nothing. She didn't blink. "How do you know that?" Jace asked quietly. She stood, handed the rifle back, brushed sand off her knee. "Guess I'm good at guessing." They watched her walk away, silent now. That night, the whispers started. Cammy called a range with no finder. She knew wind drift. She touched the rifle like it was part of her. For the first time, people didn't look past Eva. They looked at her, but not everyone liked what they saw. One private muttered about show-off stunts. Another said, "Bet she memorized that from patrol logs." Envy clung to some like dust. Eva ignored it. Jace didn't. That night, he sat on his bunk, staring at the rifle. "She was right," he said to Pine. So we weren't. For all his jokes, Jace knew what he'd seen. A rookie didn't feel wind like that. A rookie didn't know how to let a rifle breathe. Something had shifted. Something subtle but irreversible. The next morning, Eva was invited to sit in on scope calibration. No joke this time. No teasing. Just quiet acknowledgement. It wasn't an invitation of friendship. It was the first sign of respect. And Eva? She wasn't smiling. She wasn't smug. She was finally being seen. The sniper rifle wasn't meant for hands like hers. It was military issue. Black steel and matte glass, built for long silence and final decisions. The M110 semi-automatic sniper system could split a hair at 800 meters in the right hands. And no one at Camp Falcon thought those hands belonged to Eva Harlan. Until that day, it started the way most days started: dust, sweat, routine. Her shift had ended early after a delay in patrol rotation. With a couple of unclaimed hours before sundown, she wandered near the range where Jace and Pine were conducting test shots. She didn't approach, not at first. She just leaned on a crate and watched. From 100 feet away, she could read every movement, the rhythm of Jace's reloads, the slow inhale Pine took before calling wind, the tiny shoulder flinch that always followed a confirmed kill from either man. It was like music, except played in whispers and echoes. Jace noticed her. "You always creep around silently, Cammy?" he asked, stepping away from the rifle with a grin. "Only when I'm learning something," she said. He looked at Pine, then back at her. "All right, student. Want to touch the instrument?" She raised an eyebrow. "Don't worry, it doesn't bite," he added. Pine chuckled. "You might." Jace stepped aside and gestured toward the rifle on its bipod. "Go on. Have a look." There was something behind the joke now. Curiosity. A dare, maybe. Not exactly respect, but no longer dismissal. Eva knelt beside the rifle like it was a sleeping animal. She didn't rush. Her fingers brushed the stock first, not in awe, but in recognition. Then she adjusted the cheek rest, checked the bolt action, rolled the scope with practiced hands. Pine frowned. You've held one before. She shook her head. Just the civilian cousin. Grandpa had one, minus the scope. Same weight. Same soul. Same soul. Jace smirked at that dot. She settled into the firing position without being told. Her movements were precise, like someone folding laundry or tying flies for trout. The rifle didn't fight her. It fit her dot. She found a target, a rusted-out Toyota. Shell near the outer tower, half hidden behind a slouching wall. Pickup, faded blue, dented cab. 785 meters, give or take. Jace's smile faded. Pine raised the rangefinder, almost mockingly. Let's see how good. You guess. He clicked .7-8-5. They froze. Jace slowly pulled his headset off, like someone trying to hear better without interference. His eyes narrowed, not in suspicion, in respect. You free tomorrow night? He asked. I'm always free, she said, gently releasing the rifle. Pine stepped closer, squinting at her. You're not just guessing, are you? Eva stood. You don't guess with tools that can end lives. Neither man responded. They just watched her walk away, stunned into silence. That night, the story spread. It always did. Faster than truth. Faster than facts. By lights out, every corner of Camp Falcon buzzed with variations of the tale. She picked up the rifle and called the range blind. Didn't flinch. Like she knew the target. She didn't fire, but Jace looked. Like he'd seen a ghost. Some soldiers were intrigued, others skeptical. A few tried to test her, bringing her empty scopes and challenging her to adjust them on the spot. She obliged and got everyone near perfect. She's some kind of savant, one corporal whispered. Or just lucky, muttered another. The term sniper bait floated around, half mocking, half fearing. But Jace wasn't laughing. That evening, he sat alone with Pine, field stripping the M110 in silence. Pine finally said what they were both thinking. She's not a tourist. Jace nodded. Doppel quotes. Nope. Double quotes. You thinking what I'm thinking? Yeah, Jace muttered. But command won't back it. Not officially. She's not even assigned to Overwatch. I don't care. She sees the world different. Pine leaned back, lighting a cigarette. Maybe she doesn't see it different. Maybe she just sees it clearly. The next day, Jace invited her to observe wing calibration. It was an unspoken test, a challenge, and a gesture of faith. Eva didn't ask questions. She arrived early, watched quietly as they set up. Jace ran through his readings. Crosswind, thermal layering, humidity. Halfway through, he asked, What do you make of it? She paused. Crosswind's not constant. There's a vertical roll coming off the sand mound. You're undercompensating for lift. Pine blinked. JACE adjusted his settings. Fired. Direct hit. They said nothing. But after that, she was invited back the next day. And the next, she still wasn't on the sniper roster. She still wore the wrong patch. But among the few who mattered, Eva Harlan had stopped being Cammy. Now, she was something else. An unknown variable. A problem they couldn't solve, only respect. The silence didn't come all at once. It arrived in fragments. A joke cut short, a glance held too long. A conversation paused mid-sentence when Eva walked into the room. For months, she had been invisible. Now, suddenly, everyone could see her, and no one seemed to know what to do with that. Jace wasn't joking anymore. Neither was Pine. And Eva? She hadn't changed at all. She still cleaned her rifle with quiet focus. Still showed up early for every task. Still said little, even when spoken to. But where before her silence had been mistaken for meekness, now it carried something heavier. Weight. purpose. That day with the rifle had shattered the informal boundaries that kept her, tucked safely into the background. Now she was being watched. Not just by the sniper team, but by the whole base. The whispers came fast. You hear she matched the spotter on wind calls? She zeroed a scope in 3 shots. She didn't even flinch when a mortar dropped near the gate. Some of it was admiration. Some W.A. send single quotes T. Staff Sergeant Wilson, a thick-skulled traditionalist who ran the armory, pulled her aside one afternoon. You think this is a game? He barked. You play sniper once and suddenly you're Annie freaking Oakley? Eva didn't blink. No, Sergeant. I play soldier every day. He stared at her, mouth slightly open, caught between disbelief and something bordering on respect. Then he snorted and walked off, muttering. Even among her supporters, unease lingered. She's too calm, one medic said. People like that usually snap. She doesn't talk enough, another soldier whispered. But the sniper team knew better. Jace, especially, had started to notice things, like how Eva always knew when the wind was about to shift, not from instruments, but from the twitch of tarp edges or the sound of distant flags flapping differently, or how she could anticipate movements before they happened, once even warning them of a possible IED route just based on how the trash pattern had changed overnight. She's got what we call hunter's blood. Pine told Jace one night over canned beans. Jace nodded. She doesn't hunt. She waits. That's scarier. They'd never say it aloud, but both men were starting to feel it. The uneasy truth that Ava didn't just belong on their team. She might surpass them. One evening, as the heat faded into dusk, Eva joined Jace and Pine for routine sighting practice. There was a different energy in the air. Not heavy, just expectant, like something unspoken had finally ripened. Jace set up the rifle again and stepped back. Cammy, he said, voice casual but clear. Take the shot. It wasn't a joke this time. Eva hesitated. Range? She asked. 790, high right. Top of the tower, behind the mesh. She nodded once, then settled into position. The camp seemed to hush around. Her breathing slowed. 1.2.3. She counted seconds between gusts. She watched the dust rise and fall off a nearby sandbag. She dialed in corrections with the precision of a surgeon preparing for incision. Through the scope, she saw her target, a black tin plate bolted to the mesh near the top of a leaning communications tower. She exhaled and fired. The sound cracked the air. Flat, sharp, confident. The tin plate spun once and then clattered to the floor of the tower. Direct hit. No one clapped. No one spoke. Pine let out a soft whistle. Damn. Jace nodded slowly. She's ready. Ready. The word hung in the air like a verdict. But ready for what? The next few days, Iva felt the shift in full. She was still assigned to perimeter duty. But now, anytime the sniper team went out to recalibrate or run live fire drills, she was expected to join. No orders were issued. No formal acknowledgement from the chain of command. It didn't matter. She was already becoming part of something more important, something that didn't live on paper. She started getting more gear, better gear. Pine gave her a spare lens cloth, an unspoken rite of passage. Jace handed her a broken-down scope and asked if she could see what was wrong. She fixed it in under 5 minutes. It wasn't trust yet, but it was momentum. Still, not everyone was on board. Private Morales, a loud-mouthed specialist with too many muscles and too few thoughts, started calling her Eagle Barbie behind her back. Once, he said it within earshot. She looked him in the eye and asked, You ever shoot at 800 meters? He laughed. She added, I have. That's the difference. He didn't laugh again. That night, Jace found her sitting alone outside the armory, cleaning her gear by the light of a half-dead bulb. "You think you're ready?" he asked. She didn't look up. "I'm not waiting for permission." He nodded, pulled up a crate beside her, and sat. "You know there's no going back after this, right? You're already a target, and you haven't even pulled the trigger in the field yet." She finally looked at him. "I'm not afraid of being seen." That was the difference. She had spent her whole life in the background. Now that she was finally in focus, she had no intention of blinking. The silence wasn't around her anymore. It was from her gut, and it was starting to make everyone else uncomfortable. The first time Eva killed a man, she didn't even hear the shot. The world was too loud. It began with dust. Always dust. And then the radio screamed. "Convoy hit. Ide, East Route, Grid Lima 5. The voiceover comms was frantic. Then, gunfire. Close. The entire camp snapped to life like a struck match. Sirens howled. Boots slammed pavement. Orders flew like bullets. Eva had been loading gear into a Humvee when it hit. The sound, the pressure, the chaos. One of the returning supply convoys had taken a bad turn near Sadra City, veered into an ambush zone, and triggered an improvised explosive. Half the lead vehicle was gone. Smoke poured into the sky like something was being erased. Within minutes, a QRF unit was scrambling to gear up. Jason Pine were already on the move, rifles in hand. Eva was supposed to stay behind. She DIDN single quotes T. She moved on instinct. Followed the sniper team out of the gate without waiting for a nod. She knew the terrain. She knew the rhythm of war well enough by now. When to move fast, when to slow your breath, when silence meant danger, and when it meant death had already passed you by. The convoy wreckage was half a mile outside the outer wall, near a stretch of crumbling buildings with no clear vantage point. Too exposed, too dirty for proper overwatch. The ambushers had thought this through. Jace spotted the only viable perch. A crumbling rooftop of an abandoned concrete building just outside the kill zone. "Up top," he barked to Pine, then turned to Eva. "You stay down. Not your fight." Eva looked at the chaos. 3 Humvees clustered in the open, bullets pinging off the metal, soldiers scrambling for cover. She didn't speak. She just grabbed the M110 out of Pine's sling and sprinted for the stairs. "God damn it," Jace muttered, already chasing after her. She reached the roof in under a minute. Lay prone. Scope up. Heartbeat calm. Her first target appeared in the scope, like a character out of her memory, peeking from a broken window, RPG on his shoulder. She exhaled. Fired. The man dropped. She didn't blink. More movement, near a rooftop antenna. Another shot. Another body collapsed into dust. A CE slid in beside her, breath caught in his throat. "Two down?" he asked, stunned. She didn't answer. Her eyes were scanning the horizon, and then she saw him, a third hostile, slipping behind an overturned truck. He was dragging something metallic. IED. Remote detonation. If he got close enough, he could trigger a second blast. "Target left," she whispered. 2 seconds. Jace didn't hesitate now. He spotted, confirmed, called distance. She adjusted. Fired. Hit. Clean. The battlefield shifted. The enemy retreated. The gunfire began to taper, then stopped. The smoke still hung in the air like regret, but the threat had passed. Soldiers were moving again, dragging the wounded to safety, securing the area. The radios, once a mess of screams, now crackled with clipped relief. Eva stood slowly. Her knees felt like water, but her hands were still steady. Jace looked at her, like she was something he hadn't quite finished seeing. "You weren't supposed to be here," he said. "I was already here," she replied. They descended the stairs in silence. Soldiers stared as they passed. No one said anything. No one needed to. 3 shots. 3 kills. No civilian casualties. No wasted movement. Eva had done what trained snipers sometimes failed to do. In their first combat encounter, she stayed present. Pine met them at the base of the building, holding a medkit and blinking at her like he wasn't sure if she was real. "You all right?" he asked. "Fine. That was fast." "Didn't feel fast." Jace clapped her once on the shoulder, the first time he'd ever touched her, and said, "Welcome to the team." She didn't smile, but something shifted behind her eyes. Back at Camp Falcon, the rumors exploded. Cammy dropped 3 tangos in under a minute. Jace froze and she took the shot. She fired the last round before the spotter called it. None of it was exactly true, but none of it was false. Either. Eva didn't correct the stories. She didn't need to. What mattered wasn't the exaggerations. It was that the silence around her had finally changed tone. It wasn't awkward anymore. It was reverent. Even Sergeant Wilson offered a gruff nod as she walked past the armory. Morales. The loudmouth stopped speaking to her altogether. And the sniper rifle? The M110? It wasn't Pine's rifle. Anymore. It wasn't even Jace's. Tool. People started calling it hers. That night, Jace found her cleaning the rifle under the same flickering light outside the tent. "You breathe different when it counts," he said. "Like you were born for it." Eva shrugged. "Maybe I just grew into it." "Same thing," Jace muttered, then paused. "I've seen a lot of people go cold after their first kill. You didn't." "I didn't feel cold," she said. He looked at her, really looked this time. "What did you feel?" Eva tightened the sling, checked the bolt, prepared. And that was the truth. She hadn't been waiting for that moment, but she wasn't surprised by it. Either. It didn't shake. It confirmed her. It didn't take long after the firefight for Ava's name to stop being spoken aloud. Because now she had a call sign. Whisper 9. It started with Pine. He said it once, quietly, during an after-action briefing. You know, she doesn't shout, doesn't hesitate. She just whispers, and people fall. Jace added the number. She fired 3 rounds that day. Total kills on record now? 9. Whisper 9 got the name spread like wildfire through Camp Falcon. It sounded like a ghost story. The kind you half believed, even if you weren't sure you wanted to. New recruits whispered it in the mess hall. Radio operators logged it during patrols. She didn't ask for the title, but no one else fit it. Not anymore. The transformation wasn't dramatic. Eva didn't walk taller or start barking orders. She still showed up early, still cleaned her rifle with care, spoke little, and watched everything. But the energy around her had changed. She was no longer the girl with good aim. She was the answer to chaos. When something went wrong, someone would ask, "Is Whisper 9 on Overwatch?" If the answer was yes, shoulders loosened. That shift unsettled people, especially those who had trained longer, fought more. Worn rank heavier. Staff, Sergeant Wilson, stopped growling at her. He started offering tactical files without being asked. Lieutenant Green, a by-the-book officer, who once told her, "Sniping isn't gender neutral, it's biology," now avoided eye contact. Jace was the only one who didn't flinch around her. He was proud in his way, not boastful, but aware. He knew what they were building together. "Not many people understand what the quiet means," he said one night, watching her oil the scope. Eva didn't look up. "The quiet is the only part that's real." Pine agreed. "It's not the pull of the trigger that gets you. It's the 10 seconds before." A week after the ambush, Eva was reassigned, not through orders, through reputation. Captain Derricks, head of Falcon's Overwatch operations, called her into the tent, pointed at a map, and said, "We need Whisper 9 up here." She raised an eyebrow. Is that official? It is now. No formality, no ceremony. Just a nod to a new truth. Eva Harlan was now Overwatch certified. She had no paperwork, no traditional sniper tab, but no one questioned her place anymore, except her. Late one night, she sat alone, turning her scope in slow circles, watching the reflection of the moon ripple inside the glass. It was happening fast. Too fast. In 1 month. She had gone from background support to battlefield guardian. She didn't ask for the weight, but it was hers now. She carried it with the same silence she always had. Jace noticed her that night. Walked over with 2 MREs and a bottle of warm water. Don't forget to eat. She looked up. Do you think this is too much? He sat beside her. You think that's how legends start? With permission? I didn't mean to become a legend. You didn't, he said. You became a problem. To the system. And to the enemy. A legend was just their way of coping. She didn't smile. But she took the food. Her next mission came the following morning. High-value asset transfer. Rural road. 3 a.m. departure. The kind of mission that almost always went wrong. She was placed on the highest rooftop in the sector, a shattered mosque with a half-collapsed minaret and a direct line of sight. To the convoy route, conditions weren't perfect. Fog rolling in. Thermal drift high. She loved it. By the time the convoy rolled in, she had already counted 7 possible ambush points. By the time it crossed the halfway mark, she'd adjusted for every breeze pattern on the block. The first hostile popped up from behind a broken wall with a rifle. She didn't blink. Just whispered. To herself, to the rifle, to the enemy. Then fired. 1 shot. Clean. Dropped. Another appeared on the roof across the road. Second shot. Missed. No. Glanced. She recalibrated. Without emotion. Breathed. Fired again. Confirmed kill. The rest of the attackers scattered. The convoy passed through untouched. Later, a young private approached her, wide-eyed. How did you shoot like that in the fog? She shrugged. It's like shooting through memory. He didn't understand. He saluted anyway. By the end of the month, her name was radio code. Request Whisper 9. Whisper 9 in position. Overwatch green. Whisper's got eyes. The commanders used it casually now, like it had always existed. And yet, with all the recognition, came the tension. Some soldiers revered her. Others feared her, and a few hated her. Not because she was dangerous, but because she had skipped the expected path. No academy, no sniper school, no tradition. Just a ranch girl with a rifle and focus sharper than steel. But none of that mattered on the battlefield. Because when things got loud, they all wanted the same thing. To hear the whisper before the shot. To know. Eva Harlan, Whisper 9, was watching, and would not miss. They called it a routine extraction. Nothing about it was routine. The target was a civilian contractor, an American logistics tech who'd been captured by insurgents outside Mosul. Intel claimed he was being held in a compound near the industrial district. The area was tight, overbuilt, and crawling with insurgent pockets. No rooftops, no towers, just narrow alleys and crumbling cement. It was exactly the kind of place a sniper hated. And exactly the kind of place they sent. Whisper 9. Eva had been prepping gear when the mission dropped. She was halfway through, cleaning her M110 when Jace came in, jaw tight, eyes hard. We're up, he said. Clock starts now. She didn't ask for details. She didn't need them. They arrived on site at 0230 under heavy cloud cover. The compound was a boxed-in ruin with 4 access points, all exposed. Overwatch was near impossible, except for one option, a half-collapsed hotel across the street. Barely 4 stories, roof torn by shelling, interior rotten. That's where. Eva went alone. Jace. and Pine stayed groundside to coordinate the breach team. She climbed the stairs slowly, each creak of the crumbling building echoing louder than gunfire. The top floor was a wind tunnel. Sand whispered across the tile. Most would have called it unstable. She called it home. She set up on a shattered balcony, scope facing the compound gate. Rifle resting in the crook of a twisted railing. She breathed, counted shadows, waited. That was her gift. Not just shooting, but waiting. At 0317, the breach team moved. 12 men, 4 Humvees. In and out, 10-minute window. At 0318, everything exploded. Gunfire erupted from 3 buildings at once. From rooftops, doorways, drain pipes. The convoy was pinned instantly. The Humvees reversed hard. One clipped a wall, another jammed. Whisper 9. This is Ground Team Alpha. We're trapped at Entry 2. Taking fire from north and east. Eva was already moving. Her scope found the rooftop behind the team. 2 figures with Kalashnikovs firing downward. She adjusted. 1 shot. The first fell. Second raised his head. Another shot. Down. No time to confirm. She moved. Another hostile in a 2nd-story window. Pop. Gone. A door cracked open across the street. Someone with a vest. Eva froze for half a second. A child, no older than 12, ran into the open with a panic-stricken face. Behind him, an insurgent raised a rifle. Eva hesitated. Couldn't shoot. The boy fell. Just a push from the insurgent, not a bullet. He used the child as a screen. Eva waited, adjusting a half-millimeter. The insurgent leaned, exposed. 1 breath. She fired. Direct hit. Whisper 9. We're moving to extraction. Cover gate 3. Eva shifted right. Her view now blocked by a broken steel beam. No clear sight line. She moved without thinking. Climbed onto the rubble pile, balancing over a rusted AC duct. Scoped down the alley just in time to see the breach team, dragging the contractor out. Behind them, movement. 2 insurgents. RPG. 10 seconds for reload. Eva didn't blink. First shot. Miss. Just wide. They ducked. No time. She reloaded. Fired again. Straight through the corner of the wall. 1 dropped. Second. Fled. Then it cracked. Pain. Everything jolted sideways. Her left side slammed against the concrete. For a second, she couldn't breathe. She'd been hit. Shoulder. Through dash and dash through. Not deep, but bloody. She gritted her teeth, rolled behind the shattered duct, checked the rifle. Still good. She pressed cloth into the wound, dragged herself back to the scope, one arm shaking. Ground Alpha to whisper, status? She didn't answer, just breathed. Fired 1 more shot. Hit a figure leaning from a balcony with a detonator. That saved them. The extraction completed at 0343. The breach team made it out. The target was alive. Eva passed out at 0346. She woke in the med tent 2 hours later, 4 in her arm, bandages around her shoulder. Jace sat beside her, his face stone still. You stupid, brilliant, reckless ghost, he muttered. You saved all of them. Eva tried to sit up. They get out? Yeah, because of you. Pine entered with a half grin and a chocolate bar. Doctor. Says you're lucky. Missed the artery. Eva took the bar. Bit into it. Tasted nothing. What now? She asked. Jace sighed. Now? You get written up for not waiting on authorization. She blinked. Then, he said, you get nominated. For a Bronze Star. She stared at the tent wall, not out of pride, but because the silence, after battle, always felt louder than the gunfire. She had waited her whole life to be useful. Now she had been. Over the next week, the compound story went viral inside the FOB. Network. 12 men pulled out under heavy fire. Contractor. Alive. 10 hostiles neutralized. Sniper wounded. All by one Overwatch. Whisper 9. Her legend cemented, not with stories, but scars. Ava didn't walk across the airfield when she left Iraq. She limped. The bandages were off, but the scar on her shoulder pulled whenever she turned too fast. Not that she complained. She never had, and she didn't start now. The war didn't end. For her, the way it did in movies. No hero's fanfare, no final stand in the desert sunset. Just a final mission, a quiet ride back to base, and paperwork thicker than her rifle barrel. She didn't even know she was rotating out until 2 days before it. Happened. Captain Derricks called her into the tactical tent, cleared his throat, and said, "Orders from command. You've done your tour." She nodded. "You'll be leaving with the next convoy to Kuwait." Then home. Double quotes home. She hadn't thought about the word in weeks. Maybe months. "You want to put in for extension?" The captain asked. She thought for a long time. Then, no. The day she left, the air hung heavy over the base, thick with sand and memory. Most of the camp came out to see her off. Not formally, not with banners or bugles. Just presence. Some nodded. Some whispered. Some stood in silence, watching her pass like they were trying to memorize the shape of her. Pine handed her a folded American flag. Not regulation, but earned. Chase walked her to the Humvee. He didn't say much. Just placed her rifle case beside her and tapped the roof. She turned to him. "Thanks," she said. "For what?" "For making room on the line." He gave a small smile. "You never needed permission. You just took the shot." As the vehicle pulled away, he raised 2 fingers to his temple in a lazy salute. She didn't wave. She just watched the towers of Camp Falcon shrink into the haze. Back in the States, the war didn't follow her. Not loudly. There were no press releases, no CNN interviews. Just a few lines in a military dispatch report. But in the sniper community, she was a ghost they all knew. Whisper 9 became shorthand in Overwatch circles. A kind of myth. She had no online presence, no training school footage, no official sniper tab, but her name lived between the lines of classified briefings and whispered stories at rifle ranges. She made the shot in Mosul. She's the reason 2 units came back. They say she once held her breath for 90 seconds in a sandstorm before pulling the trigger. Some of it was exaggerated. Most of it T. She didn't return to ranching. Not right away. Instead, she moved to Montana. Quiet. Town. Flat fields. No fences. She worked at a small range on the edge of town. Taught local kids how to shoot safe. Never raised her voice. Some of the old veterans came through and recognized her name. Never said it aloud. Just nodded once, deep and respectful. One day, a man in uniform came to the range. Not army, not local law enforcement. He was dressed like a recruiter, but older. Eyes worn. "I came to meet the one they call Whisper 9. He said. Ava didn't flinch. "You're about 6 years late," she replied. He smiled. "They still talk about you in Afghanistan, even the locals." "What do they say?" "That the Americans had a woman who never missed, who killed without sound, who didn't wear stripes, just shadows." She looked at him for a long time. "Why are you here?" He held out an envelope. "We're building a new Overwatch training school. Quiet work. Precise. We want you to consult." Eva didn't take the envelope. "Not yet. You think war needs more of me?" "I think war needs fewer, but peace needs people who understand it." She looked down the range. A kid was firing low and left, jerking the trigger. She made a mental note. "I'll think about it." The man nodded. Left the envelope. Walked away. She didn't open it that day. She wasn't ready. Years passed. The stories didn't fade. If anything, They sharpened with time, somewhere in some fob she'd never visited. A young sniper whispered her name before their first mission. A reminder to breathe, to wait, to aim with purpose. They didn't know her face, only her call sign, but it was enough. Eva never wrote a book. Never gave a speech. She didn't need to. Her legacy wasn't in words. It was in the silence between gunfire, the breath before the trigger, the unseen guardian in the shadow of the skyline. One spring, Jace visited her in Montana. He brought beer and silence. They sat by the fire, looking out across the fields. No one shoots like you, he said at one point. Eva sipped her drink. No one waits like me, she corrected. He laughed once, low and rough. Still don't like compliments? I just like accuracy. He nodded, looked up at the stars. Sometimes I miss it. Me too. But not enough to go back. She said nothing. He didn't press before he left. He handed her a photo. Black and white, creased with time. It showed the rooftop in Mosul, the wreckage, the scope, her shadow beside it. She looked at it a long time. Thanks. Just figured someone should remember the one who held the line. Eva Harlan's name was never printed in history books, but every Overwatch team had a whisper of her. The girl who wasn't supposed to be there. Who picked up the rifle anyway. Who stayed still when the world fell apart. And who took the shot when it mattered. Not for glory, for medals, but because someone had to, and she could. That was enough. That would always be enough. The end.